Greetings, scholars. I want to give you guys a little bit of feedback on your work from last week so that you are always working towards improving in your academic writing. So the first thing I want to address is your active reading notes. These are things that you will continue to do throughout the term as you build up your research on your topic. So the first thing I want to say is that you want to get in the habit of putting the works cited information at the top of your note pages. This is not just going to help you organize your notes, especially for larger research papers that you may encounter later, but it's also going to help you create your works cited page in the end. It'll be a lot easier for you to create your works cited page if you already have the information listed as it's supposed to be. Now, I do have some great resources on MLA format. You can look in your survival guide. You can look in the Little Seagull Handbook. There's a whole MLA section in there. The survival guide even has some works cited models that you can use to start. So make sure you're taking a look at those. Now, the next thing I want to say about the notes is that you want to remember not just to use the notes as a point-by-point summary for remembering, but also as a means of deepening your understanding by conversing with the author. This is your time to treat this like a conversation. So here you can ask questions. What does he mean by that? What does that word mean? Things like that. And some of these questions may actually help you when you get to the research portion of this topic. You can also use your active reading notes to agree or disagree, to put your own thoughts down about what the author says. You can relate your own experiences, or you can connect what the author is saying with things you've heard other authors say or other speakers say on the topic. Again, these strategies don't just deepen your understanding, but they also help you generate ideas for future essays that you may be required to write, especially in this class. Let's talk a little bit about summaries real quick. So one thing that I noticed is that a lot of you are in the habit of using second-person pronouns in your writing. That is when we say things like you can see this, you can do that, you, your, yourself, yours, words like that. We try to stay away from those in academic writing because we are addressing the audience and we can't see the audience. And that's tricky because then we end up making some unfortunate assumptions, maybe even some off-putting assumptions about the reader that might cause them to put the paper down before they've finished reading it, which means you've wasted weeks writing an essay that somebody's not going to read because you said something untrue or off-putting about them. So there's a whole section in your survival guide called Audience Awareness and Perspective. And if you look in there, you will see some advice on how to shift from you, your, yours to more specific nouns. For example, instead of saying you should not watch television while you're studying, you could say students should not watch television while they're studying. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is your target reader for these assignments. We are always practicing writing to an audience of academic readers, people who have looked this topic up probably for academic purposes. There may be some general interest readers, of course, but most of our audience is going to be students, teachers, counselors, people in the professional field that you're talking about. So what I like to do is imagine a reader who's doing some light research on a topic, in this case, the topic of education, and they've come across your argument or your work in an academic database or maybe in Google or something. They don't know you're a student. They don't know you have an assignment. So we want to leave all of that out and speak as somebody who hopefully, by the time you've done some research, has a little bit of knowledge on the topic to share. Another thing I wanted to note about the summaries is that when you are discussing other texts, remember that the author is always the speaker. Unless there isn't an author or the author is an institution, almost always, instead of saying something like in the article it says or the article says, you're going to use the author's last name or their pronouns. And you always, of course, want to make sure that you've introduced the author by first and last name. And then afterwards, you always speak of them either by their pronouns or by their last name. We have to remember that we're not on a first name bestie basis with our authors. So we don't say Tom said, we say Hanks said. Finally, I did give you guys full credit, even if your MLA format was not correct this time, but I do want you guys to get in the habit of putting your documents in this class into MLA format, even the smaller documents like the summaries. You can find information on document design, works cited entries, in-text citations, even titles in the Little Seagull Handbook in the MLA section, in the survival guide, or if you want a comprehensive view, the Online Writing Center at Purdue University, sometimes called the OWL Purdue, has some great resources on MLA format. And last, a note about Google Docs app and Microsoft Word apps. If you are using one of the apps, not the program, but the app on your phone, your tablet, or your Chromebook, keep in mind that they do not have indentation options, which you need for MLA format. So what I recommend that you do is use the apps that are the web-based apps, the ones that you can find in your Chrome browser. Now, I know that if you are an Apple user, this can be a little bit tricky, so, but you can look it up online. There are ways to do it. Usually what you're going to do is open the document via a link, and then in your settings, go to the web version, the full web version instead of the mobile version of the app, okay? All right, that wraps up my feedback for you guys for today. Remember that your initial attendance post is due Wednesday, that's today, and that you do need to follow up and respond to 2 of your classmates by Monday. You also have your first essay due Monday, so please make sure that you've done your readings and that you're ready to write that first essay. All right, folks, I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend. Please be safe, and I'll catch you next week.